those things that we all loved and missed from the original line. And eventually we got to a point where we started getting some new mini comics. And the gentlemen we have up here on stage are the folks responsible for those. So we're gonna have a great chat today. We're gonna talk about what it was like to work on them. I think we got some cool stuff that they're gonna show us. And we'll open up for some Q&A as well. So if you guys have any questions, you'll be able to direct. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys introduce yourselves down the line. Let everybody know who you are and what you did.
Is this on? Good. I'm Nate Barch, I just color things.
You just color things.
Beautifully, with this radiance that makes things come alive and just jump off the page.
Woo! Yeah!
Hi, I'm Max Jimenez and I love to drum in bands.
I'm Val Staples. I run. My name is Scott Knightlick. For those of you I've never met in this room, I can also now officially announce that I'm now the Vice President of Marketing for Jada Toys as of tomorrow.
Nice.
And but here today, I'm here to talk about the MOTU Minicomics and the amazing experience we had working on them. And at the end, I've got some toys to give away for my new gig too. So,
Wow.
We'll get to that later. I wouldn't do that at the convention if I wasn't pimping my actual job.
That's right.
But yeah, let's talk about MOTU Minicomics. We've got a cool presentation, and thank you, Dan, for emceeing this. I've never been in the same room with either of these two gentlemen before.
Wow.
Which is unbelievable, because we worked together on 3 or 4 of the mini-comics. These gentlemen are 2 of the most talented artists I've ever known.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Artists like that, obviously we'll get into some of the stories about how they were made and stuff. What we have from a presentation standpoint is just a quick look at kind of what the mini-comics were all about, and luckily Nate saved a lot of their sketches and drawings, so we have some of their sort of character renders for some of the original characters from the mini-comics that haven't really been shown, because they were just done as reference to sort of figure out what these new characters were going to look like. So why don't I jump in so we can leave lots of time to chat and questions.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay, so mini-comic goals. Why do mini-comics, other than the obvious, because they're awesome? We want to expand the universe. We wanted to make the MOTU universe, Master Universe, as big as possible. We wanted to set up figures for the long-term lifeblood of the line, because let's face it, the vintage line has now completely been done, thanks to everyone in this room supporting the line so long, that all, whatever it was, 82, I can't remember exactly how many vintage figures there were. Someone must know. How many? Someone? No one knows the count? Not even the New York or Rampant? Anyway, a lot. So there were somewhere between, let's say, 50 and 80, plus new adventures, plus POP. We knew they were running out, honestly, quickly. So we could use the mini-comics to set up interest in more figures. We could link key areas of the lore. The whole idea that you could, 2000X ended kind of prematurely, and being able to continue that story, or at least the threads that were left off that Ian and Dean had supplied, sort of the transition between 2000X and Classics. To expand She-Ra and the POP, that was precisely why we created New Adventures She-Ra and She-Ra at Arms, and new versions of her, because we wanted her to be equal with He-Man and sort of the twins of destiny, and He-Man and She-Ra. He-Man shouldn't just go into new adventures on his own. She-Ra should come. Why not? So that was a big goal too. And then the not repeat stories that have been told. A lot of the criticism of mini-comics was always like, we just want to see He-Man versus Skeletor. Well, there's multiple cartoon shows for that, and movies, and media, and audio tapes. So we didn't want to just tell a story that you could really get from, and that had already been done. We want to tell new stories. So that was kind of our thinking of where we were going, and by we, I sort of mean me. Okay, so quick flick, a case study. Can you see? Oh my God, there it is. So that is my drawing. Which you guys, I don't even know if you ever saw that one.
I saw it.
You saw it.
You sent it to me.
So one of the new characters. So I really wanted to make some more Snake Men, so we had a character, I think, in issue 8, right? Because that's the one that they didn't let you draw. That was going to be a Snake Man archer. So came up with this character, Quick Flick, that was gonna have like a T-Rex head and a bow and arrow. So I did that horrible drawing of what kind of had idea, and then passed it along, and then these gentlemen, so there's pencils, and there's Nate's version. So that's how they took my horrible sketch that I did at my desk, and turned it into something beautiful. Anything either of you want to say about it? Quick, please jump in.
What's funny is I remember getting Scott's drawing as we were working on the comics, and I was thinking about it, and there was a funny thing that happened. If you look closely at my version, which is on your, what is that, right, left? I'm retarded when it comes to right and left. That one, far one. And when I got done with the body and pieces, as I thought, these pieces should work for the body, I realized it was the same thing that Axel had already done for Fangor, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we still liked it. Really, it was more, for me, it was more about the head design and the armor design. And then, yeah, Axel took it and made it even better.
Yeah, I remember Scott told me at first to do a thin character. That's why I chose to do it with parts from Lizana, yeah, and some parts from Montana.
Much stronger design.
And it was always about, thinking about what common parts could we use
Exactly.
to make, like, these gentlemen have an amazing visual library in their heads about every kind of arm and leg and backpack that we've done, because we knew that if we were creating characters, we wanted to do so within the template of the line, so that we knew not every character that we created for the mini comics fans were going to embrace. But maybe we'd get lucky enough that one or two might get a fan following. So we want to, as kind of common saying in Mattel, was setting yourself up for success. So by designing them from day one with common parts, it ensured it would be easier to hypothetically do them as figures. So that's why you see purposeful use of the MOTU Classics Horseman sculpted parts. All right, so that's Quick Flick, the new Snake Man Archer, who made a very brief cameo and almost became Snake Man at Arms recolored until we bitched and complained about
Sad story.
Yeah, that was a almost narrowly avoided catastrophe. All right, additional character studies. So here is She-Ra at Arms. This is yours, right, Nate?
I just did the colors. I think you did the sketch.
Yeah, I think we did it together.
Yep.
As it should be. So this was, again, just a way to do a new version of She-Ra as she takes over as captain of the guard now that Teela is the sorceress, so sort of like everybody kind of, it's like dominoes, everyone's got to jump up a roll. And then the idea was she could potentially come with other heads to build out some female troopers. And please, you guys want to know anything about this design?
Pretty straightforward. I remember making that note of the gem changing color. No major story point other than the comics at the time had just revealed, the DC Comics had just revealed She-Ra.
Yeah.
She had the red gem, so I thought, branding wise, let's pull that over. But yeah, the piece, obviously, as you can see, the piece pulls from the existing armor that Sherilyn and Shield Maiden had with the interchangeable horde bat. And we thought, well, let's continue to play with that so that you could actually have an army builder where it's either She-Ra or you pop that out and it's a tank, and it could be any of the other female soldiers. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I remember, like I did with another characters, trying to give her some weapon, take it directly from Filmation or another sources. So that's why she has the Crimson Pearl spear.
And I have no idea why in the comic she got a giant snake pincher attached to her.
Oh.
That just wasn't in the design, but it was.
Someone else who's not here on the panel at DC had fun.
There we go. So yeah, she got a snake pincher in the comic. But that was the design we intended. Lady Slither. So she's a perfect example of somebody. So yeah, we just kind of dropped her in again. Like, I'm a big fan of the Snake Men and kind of thought there should be more of them. And it'd be great to have a female snake woman, snake man woman. I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology, very much influenced by Medusa and Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
That's absolutely, kind of where that thinking came from. I'm a huge, huge fan of mythology. And she would have been a cool figure, but at least she got to show up in the mini comic. Oh, and Axel, I remember the headdress you created based on Filmation.
I take it from Silora, from Filmation, and choose to reuse Chila stuff, trying to mark some relationship with the same episode. I think Silora is the Snake Clan, or
Yeah.
some kind of stuff like that. That's why I choose to give you the stuff. Okay.
And then the Evil Limbs knife, right? Yeah. So again, all reuse parts. Very
Actually,
good.
no, that looks like a snake.
No,
Oh,
it's
it's
snake knife.
Snake.
Yeah.
I take that back. All right. Let's see.
Beautiful figure. I want that figure. Who else wants that figure?
Make it happen, Scott.
My abilities to Masters of the Universe figures has diminished somewhat.
Logistics, maybe.
Logistics, yes. Nope, Logistics, 2016. Okay. So this was Lady Slither's fortress. The way I described it in the script was to make it look like a 1980s Snake Men playset that never happened. And then I know, Axel designed it, and please, you want to talk a little bit about it?
That's an early version of Lady Slither. I remember you suggest to take the slave girl from the Snake Man minicomic.
Yes, King Kiss's slave girl.
But
Yes.
I just decided to transform her. And then the playset. One of your notes was to do it like a toy playset, and like the idea. And then my first idea was to reuse completely the concept from the 80s, but I think it was not possible. No,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I know, because we were like, what, better to not do that exact one, but just base it off like that kind of.
Yeah. So I started to work on a new design.
Is that Iron Maiden in there?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Close in on a person with
Yeah,
a
like a
spike.
trap.
Brutal.
Yeah, but the Snake Men never got a playset. Everybody else got a playset but the Snake Men. So this was me kind of thinking the Snake Men deserve a playset. So even though it's on a different planet, ruled by a different snake, leader, person, woman.
Yeah.
So again, expanding the universe. Okay.
Beautiful design.
All right, so here was Hans Hammer Holder.
Yeah.
So these both, from a script point of view, Hans Hammerholder was basically described as use the Ram Man parts, so we could reuse Ram, because we paid all that money for Ram Man, Mattel did. So this was before the Horseman gave Goat Man a hammer. Before then, nobody had a hammer. So now let's do a guy and give him a giant hammer, and we'll sort of do a reverse Gimli, where instead of doing like a short dwarf, we'll do kind of a guy with a big Gimli-like beard, but make him huge. And just give him a giant hammer. And then Jetpack was originally just described as a character, like basically just a space jet, character with a jetpack. And Axel had the idea that said, well, why don't we just draw him in the armor from Castle Grayskull?
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, but give him like a Buster Crab type head.
Yeah.
Is what I said. And so
That's what was to finally have an articulated version of the Grayskull armor. That's why my main idea for him.
And I guess that was like 1,000 times better than mine. It's like, oh, just make a guy with a jetpack. And the fact that you came and you were like, well, let's use the actual. I thought, oh my God, of course, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because yes, then potentially we could get a figure. And if we ever did jetpack, in the back of my head, the idea was you would just do them with two different heads. One with the Jetpack Buster Crab head, and then one with a head that looked like the Castle Grayskull. So that way you could do an articulated figure based on that and get a two-from. And again, always thinking of how we can do this kind of stuff. So that, it's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
I'll do
Thank
that.
you.
Anything else on these two before we go to the next?
Make those figures too.
So here was Muck Man and the aptly known Robo Woman. So Muck Man was basically described as literally just reusing Man-Face's body, and doing an alien kind of head and a guy that was going to shoot like mud out of his gun, which was part of it was based on my desire to. Man-Faces, there was always a question of whether he's wearing battle armor or he's in a suit. In the 2000X series, they put him in an orange suit. In the vintage era, he was kind of supposed to be skin, not orange.
Yeah.
And the toy I had as a kid was way more orange than skin color. I know some people, their Man-Faces had more skin color, some went more orange. So to me, he was always in an orange jumpsuit, like Man-at-Arms was in a green jumpsuit. So I wanted to definitively say, I guess, that Man-Faces was in an orange jumpsuit. So I said, so let's use that body and really truly make it a jumpsuit, and just, much like, I mean, like in the vintage era, the way Randor and Jiu-Jitsu used the same armor. It was the same, it was trying to go with that concept of sort of paying homage to like the vintage line created, or Clamp Champ and Fisto, same thing. So it was the idea of taking an existing vintage figure, and how could you do him a little bit different as a villain, and you came up with the head with the one eye, that was you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you did a bunch of head sketches.
Yeah, because I think that was no cycle.
Yeah, there were no Cyclops.
On Masters of the Universe.
So again, big Greek mythology, love that kind of stuff. So Muckman. And yes, I know there's a Ninja Turtle character named Muckman, but there's also, it's not the first time there's been a blend of names, Flipshot and all sorts of stuff.
Given that it's a monster, I choose to give him the fit of a new adventure skeleton.
Yeah, so he's not directly that. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a little piece mix match. Exactly.
I think what's genius about him is he looks like he always was in the 80s line. Like that character was always there in the vintage line. It just looks like a perfect blend that just would have come right straight out of that era. I think that's one of Axel's huge strong points, is that ability to fall in love again with what was there in the beginning and just make it as if it were a classics figure. Thank you.
So Robo Woman there, again, very similar concept, and in the script it was just noted as a feat. I was a big fan of Roboto, and I feel like there's not enough robots in the line. I guess there's Blast Attack, but there's no female robot. So really, it was just the idea of, much like Lady Slither, let's do a female robot. And then you came up with the idea again, Axel, of basically using Renita's body. So that we had that. If you're going to bother to do a figure, let's maximize it. So you'll notice she's wearing Renita, right? That's it, right?
Renita.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same. Or I thought of maybe we could say push for Granita by telling when you could have Granita and then have a new character reusing mostly the entire body, and just design the head after Maria from the Metropolis.
Fritz Lang is Metropolis.
And part of the helmet is based on a new adventure sorceress.
So there, a lot of visual clues to feel very MOTU. That was always, again, it's because of this guy's brilliant pencil that stuff comes out. You saw my sketch of Quick Flick. You don't want me drawing Minicomics. Incidentally, that's the same way we did all the maps, the land maps. I drew them horribly like that, and then would pass them off to both Axel and Rudy, who would then draw those gorgeous maps. But they all started as my horrible pencil sketches. Okay, Tug of War and Scrollos. So Tug of War, these are pretty because of you guys. Somebody know, I'm sure someone will take credit pretty quick, but you know, people started posting on the forum that the yellow guy playing tug of war was like the most obscure possible character ever. And I was like, for that reason alone, we're gonna find a way to put him in there. It was like a challenge. So we needed like a Dalek Machina kind of moment in one of the mini comics, and it was a perfect moment to sort of just bring him in. And it literally, looking at his vintage appearance, where this character shows up, helps win tug of war, and then disappears again. We're like, maybe he's like this cosmic being that just shows up to just add enough extra leverage on one side to win a battle, then goes away. And that's where it's fun. And then Scrollos, so thank you to Penny Dreadful. Danielle provided the vintage reference. He actually did look like that in one issue of the UK comics, and she was nice enough to send that to us. And I just sent that to Axel, and he drew Scrollos based off of that. Oh my god, I want Scrollos. Or not, yeah, it's big here. So, like, he's at the top of my list for characters we never got to. I just thought, so cool, and like, it's vintage, and he look, he's got a very unique look. He's kind of like the Collector or the Watcher from Marvel, and I was really glad. The mini comics were also sort of meant to be that that sort of failsafe of all the characters we could make a toy out of. At least they showed up in the mini comics. Prince Keldor and Prince Randor from issue 4 were also like that. I really wanted to do those because it was like the basically Anakin Obi-Wan Clone Wars, like when they were good guys, like doing Skeletor essentially as a good guy. Like Prince Keldor. I thought that was a really cool. That would have been a really good figure because it would really build into the lore. And anytime you have a figure, it creates a thing called permanence. Where you sort of can't say that doesn't exist anymore. So if we couldn't get into a figure, at least we got into the mini comics, and those two are perfect examples of yeah, we didn't have a slot for them, but at least they showed up. Anything else on these guys before we jump?
Well, I just choose to do for 201 a new head. I just don't like the idea to reuse human head again. So that could be some kind of Black Star head.
Make it happen,
Yeah.
Make it so.
I am the law. All right, Man Crystal and Mistletoe. So two more kind of oddities that showed up in the mini comics.
Best boy.
So we get Man Crystal, the stamp of Avion. Again, that was before it made it in the line. So again, trying to put things, Filmation artifacts in, hoping they might make it in. The reason he's named Man Crystal is basically playing off just the way MOTU figures are named. Beast Man, Merman, He-Man. But I didn't want to call him Crystal Man because that sounds a little bit too much like something Walter White works on. So we just called him Man Crystal instead.
Yeah.
It was a good solution.
It's like our MOTU version of Crystar.
Oh yeah, no, that actually was also big fan of Crystal and the Crystal Warriors. Again, that was very deliberate. It was like, well, let's have a crystal guy.
I'm in on him. I don't stay. You don't fast forward.
They had Chief Carnivus that was kind of like Lion-O. In fact, Eric gave him Lion-O's sword, if people noticed that back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was my way of getting the Crystal Warriors in the line.
Sweet.
We already had a Thundercat. Although now you have Thundercats, or at least you will. So.
Isn't he also based on that one little panel in one of the early mini comics of the King of?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
the King of yes, his
The-
red
The
cloak.
silhouette green guy, but that cloak's there for that reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
The idea was to have the chance to use him as the spirit of Castle Grayskull from the early mini comics.
Yeah. Like so much fun is creating these designs that maximize the potential. If they could become figures, because we had no budget, so it's like let's use every drop of ink we can, literally. All right, so wrapping up. So Sawtooth, this was a character from the Son of He-Man era, but he didn't appear in the Bible.
Right.
Most of them did, but Sawtooth did not. So you guys were basically playing around a while with this shark
We
idea.
did.
Want to jump in?
Well, those are some of my early concepts, and then I think by reason of time, you jump to the final design for
The final design?
Yeah, I think so.
These are your drawings, and I think
Yeah,
my
yeah.
drawings are on the next
Yours
page.
is on the
but-
next one.
Yeah, maybe if you want to flip back and forth,
Yeah.
or at least when I started into them, I'm a huge fan of prehistoric creatures, and there are two large shark-like creatures.
Well, here's your sketches there.
Oh,
Yeah. So there was the Dunkleosteus, I think I'm saying that right, just a huge armored shark. I mean, this thing was bigger than a great white shark, and he was, just his head design is amazing. So look that up, Dunkleosteus, that's a quick type in, right? And then there was also, it's the Helicoprion, I believe,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Helicoprion
Yeah,
shark,
yeah.
which they find these fossils of this saw. It's like this, the bottom jaw comes out, and it's just rows of teeth on each other like a saw blade. And I thought, if this guy's name is Sawtooth, my mind went straight to a toy. If I were a kid, I would want a monster that could move his jaw, but then have some unique thing like a saw blade right there in the front of it. It's like, he's feeding himself with this vicious, weird, prehistoric kind of strange thing. It's like so out there and so weird, but so perfect for Masters of the Universe. So
And there was no shark character.
there was no shark there.
Yeah, so it was
this
like a
is-
cool animal to exploit because there'd never been a shark character.
And we went back and forth, as you could see from the sketches. I mean, I had a certain head design in mind, Axel had numerous head designs in mind, and we ended up liking more that shark for that reason of, that shark face is a lot more iconic, but we could still pull from the cool idea of that spinning shark, that sawtooth channel, as it were.
All right, so I think the last one we got for you, I mentioned about that double-page spread in issue 8. So that was the third Ultimate Battleground. So Axel, that was basically I left Mattel right when issue 7 finished, and just started doing issue 8. And whatever for a court, I wasn't there, all the details, but
I see it coming.
yeah. I tell everyone the whole thing's like the long defeat of the elves. So, yeah, that was a lot. So, someone's reading their Tolkien. So anyway, Axel originally started issue 8 and he wasn't able to finish it. I think they probably just needed it done quicker or whatever reason. So this was his original sketch for the issue 8 spread. There's a lot of characters. All of the characters, all the double spreads and all the issues were listed out on the page who should be there. So some of them have 100, like, put these 100 characters in. Some of the more notable things, you'll notice if you look at the double page spread in the printed issue, the right-hand side, the bad guy side, has like a giant hole in the upper right.
Yeah.
And that was filled with a cliff, and you had Camo Khan was in there, who's now finally a figure, thanks to PowerCon. But we were trying to set up, again, doing a Camo Khan.
Bravos.
Yeah, Provis was in there. You actually see Acarius and She-Ra arms actually facing off with someone and not like slashing it mid-air at nothing. Loki was supposed to have this giant cannon on his, like we wanted to give Loki, like
So-
this tiny little guy and give him a huge...
Yeah, next to Cabo Khan, I also draw a Fuerza T character from Argentina,
Yep.
Carnivore.
So, we clawed, this thing has there's a lot more characters in this than wound up in the issue. It was definitely a little heartbreaking not to get to see this done. But, then at least you guys get to see the pencil sketch. I think you posted on He-Man.org a while ago.
Yeah.
So some people have seen this, but there it is on the screen, bigger. All right, so that's pretty much the cool stuff that we had. Obviously, it's limited. So, that was colored.
Awesome.
But that's actually how Axel originally contacted me. He was like sending me this cool art, and I felt so bad. I didn't even have the time to like get back to you and tell you how great it was because I had a day job at Mattel, which was running DC Universe with Green Lantern. Everything I was doing about Masters was, I think the Sanders brothers said it so well yesterday. I watched their She-Ra panel. I wasn't here, but luckily thanks to the internet, it's online. And Garrett or Darren had mentioned about how they did the She-Ra doll in their spare time, in their off hours. And honestly, the entire line was really like that, with dedicated designers and people like me in the marketing group doing this thing on top of our day job. So me not getting back to Axel and thanking him for this awesome art is only because like I didn't even get to start working on MOTU and Maddie until 5 o'clock every day. And I was like staying till midnight just to get this done. So that was one of the ways he got my attention. I'm so glad you did. Because I could not imagine a better artist and colorist working on this stuff. It really, it brought these characters to life. It allowed us to put in, the characters that we, like Scrollos and Songster. That was why Songster was in there. All these characters in the mini comics that we couldn't necessarily get a figure of. So when I really think of classics as an all-encompassing line, I include the mini comics sort of as the entertainment for classics, because that's where you find all those characters that we kind of wish we could get to, but we just didn't have the time or resources, et cetera, et cetera. But at least they exist on paper. You can see what they like. King Nero, again, another one we put in there. All right, I've rambled on enough.
So the moral of this story is that the mighty Spector gave us Axel.
There you go.
So we're going to go ahead and open things up to Q&A now. We have a microphone right here in the center aisle. If you guys want to go ahead and start lining up at the microphone and ask any questions you have about these specific comics.
Hello.
Hello.
So awesome to see all of you guys together. It's really been a treat. I think the mini comics have been one of the best things about the line, honestly, for me. I really look forward to them, and it's just a shame that we're not getting any more mini comics. So we can now see the dedication that went into it to actually make them happen, right? We're excited about the He-Man.org character poll and accessory poll that will be coming out soon, like we did last year. And I'd like to know if we can get this presentation in our hands so that we'll have that material to work with to include some of those characters in the poll, like the She-Ra Man-at-Arms character.
Oh yeah, I think I can send them down. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Yeah.
Sweet. Good
No,
news.
that's all I had.
If I remember right, it's
Oh, so
Sawtooth.
did I leave out Odar? Was it there?
I may have forgotten to send it.
We'll send him out whatever. Like we don't have much, but we'll send him what we got. Yes.
Because there were, from that Bible, there were the two characters. It was Sawtooth and Odar.
That didn't, right? That didn't. Yeah, because and there was one that didn't make it in. There was one character that was in the Bible that I don't know if you Bug. I have no idea why he wasn't included. I think he just
ran out of composition space in that little panel.
We were doing these things like literally in our off hours. I mean, you guys were getting paid to do them, but I certainly wasn't. And yeah, it's like if somebody got left off, that's why. It was because literally these things were getting written on the weekends and doing everything we could to make them happen.
Yeah. All right, next question.
Oh, that's a great shirt. Swiftwind is a My Little Pony.
That's right. Terraclaw Skeletor, he's got this big gun, this big red blaster.
Yes.
What was the idea for that, and did that ever make it to the toy side?
So that's issue 3. You see Skeletor, Dragon Blaster Skeletor with a giant gun. Axel didn't work on that one, that was Wellington. But the idea for that was, so comics are a visual medium. And I was really trying to maximize every panel to communicate information, even if it wasn't in dialogue. It was just something in the background or something visual. So the idea of the gun was to communicate the fact that Skeletor was so depowered that he actually had to depend on artillery. And to tell you the truth, that of everything in the mini comics, that gun was the one thing that was drawn the most incorrectly from what I had in my head. I wanted it to be a very tech-looking gun, not a demonic gun, because I was trying to have a visual to show that Skeletor was so depowered and so desperate to fight that he had to lower himself to using a gun. It's kind of like when Obi-Wan picks up one to shoot Grievous in episode 3. How uncivilized. Like the idea that, Skeletor, again, doesn't have his Havoc staff at that point, because his had it. So it was to visually communicate that Skeletor needed help. And then Wellington drew it more demonic, and again, he just didn't have time to have it redrawn. So I was like, all right, fine, ship it, that's fine. Like it wasn't as techy as I had hoped, but it still communicates that he picked up a gun. And I really wanted to do that gun with that figure, and it just couldn't happen for one reason or another. But yeah, the idea was to do that gun with that character and to just communicate that he needed a gun. And you asked the question, where did the people ask the question? Wait, I forgot to give prizes. You give
There's prizes for questions.
So, as I mentioned before, at the beginning, I'm now VP of Marketing over at Jada Toys, working on these amazing metal figures. So, There's going to be over 150 of these by the end of the year. It is going to be an amazing line to get on the ground floor of. This is just the start of diecast. Jada is very well known for diecast vehicles. They're getting into the diecast figure business. That's why I came over to them. And honestly, I'm really excited to get on the ground floor of an entire diecast figure business. Not just these figures, not just the scale, but this is kind of the start of it. So here's a killer crop there for you. And I got some more.
If you'd like to see the Metals figures up close, visit youtube.com/pixelbang. Hit that subscribe button. Figure if Scott can promote himself, I can do the same.
Absolutely. No, we're not here to promote ourselves. But yeah, there's a lot of, not masters, but Jada has almost every pop culture license in here. You're going to see, Ghostbusters and Marvel and DC and Turtles and everything. It's going to be amazing.
Cool.
I'm really excited to work on non-articulated figures, and I think metal figures have a lot of heritage. People have been playing with them for literally millennia, and there's something about holding a metal figure in your hand that's very different. So anyway, we'll keep the Q&A going.
Long question line here, not for questions.
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right.
So you were talking about the technology a second ago, and one thing that's always sort of struck me is how pre-Eternia and like modern day sort of seem like they're at the same technological level, and people are wearing furry shorts in both eras, and yet New Adventures, it's 10 years, 20 years later, and it's so much more sci-fi type. Like, how did you sort of see that universe?
Well, New Adventures take place on a different planet.
Mm-hmm.
So you could easily say different planets have different levels of technology.
But like, I guess it's more like the thousands of years between King Grayskull and He-Man. There's lasers and barbarians in both eras.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why has there not been evolution?
Fantasy.
Okay.
I mean, really just like it's a fantasy planet, it's a fantasy world. It's Eternia. It's eternally that. And there were differences in pre-Eternia. I mean, it was the idea was it was a little bit more barbarian, more exotic. And one of the big things about the dinosaurs, and I don't know if this came across as much in the mini-comics as we kind of wanted. My thought about pre-Eternia, especially with the dinosaurs, was the dinosaurs were always going to move in pre-Eternia the way that we thought dinosaurs moved in like the 40s through the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Where where T-Rexes walk upright like this and drag their tail on the ground, and brontosauruses were, not even real dinosaur brontosaurus, but we're in swamps, things like that. Like that beautiful, if you ever at the Peabody Museum at Yale, has this gorgeous mural of dinosaurs and the way we used to think they walked until Jurassic Park came along and showed us that they're fast and raptors, blah, blah, blah. So in pre-Eternia, always wanted the idea that the dinosaurs moved in that sort of fantasy dinosaur way, not the realistic dinosaur way. So,
Cool.
anyway,
Thank you.
Come up and grab your list. From Jada Toys.
Okay.
Have I ever stopped?
So I really enjoyed the female palace guards. Actually, I like the idea. Was there any other unseen female concepts that we didn't see besides, like, Lady Slither and stuff like that? I mean, we saw a lot of guy characters, of course, but there's not.
Robo Woman.
Robo Woman. Well, what about like a female version of like mistletoe, like camel toe after?
That was last night.
That was last night.
Nothing like that. Yeah. You're really expecting to say yes.
Other female
I'll
characters.
still give you a joke from Jada Toys.
We saw a lot of old school characters from the 30th anniversary that didn't make it, that didn't win, like, what's his name?
Like Rajar and
Yeah, you put them in the comics though. Did you ever have plans to bring in any more of those for the 30th anniversary?
exactly the reason that we said we put them in the comics to hopefully justify doing toys with them. Yes, absolutely. Everyone who's in the comic, if they were in the comic, the idea was like the perfect example is New Adventures She-Ra and Spear of Hordak. They appeared in the comic. People started saying, "Hey, this is cool," and then we got to do toys with them. We didn't. Yeah, I would love to get to all the 30th, the runners-up, like that whole thing where we had the runners-up characters from the modern contest fighting the runners-up from the vintage contest. Like, I mean, it was like such a fan moment. But yeah, I mean, I even wanted to do Netta. It would have been awesome. But best laid plans of Mice and He-Man. All right, and we get an Iron Man.
Oh, you're out of toys.
I'm out of toys. I'm never out of toys. But now, at the moment, I am. But Yeah.
Next
But
Hey.
Amazon.com, you can get Jack's medals right now.
Hey, what's
Suicide
going-
Squad just came out last week.
What's going on, man? Brian Ozone. I do Fans of Power podcast and 80 Masters, and I went to your the New York City what's it called, the
Toy fair?
not the toy fair, the painting picture thing you had
Oh,
going on.
the gallery.
The
yeah,
gallery, right?
at,
And you guys showed
Tokyo.
Gorpo. How come you never used him in any of the comics?
The unnamed one?
Yeah,
He was in the last two comics.
he had the was he in it? Because he had the big G on him at the show. So I was just wondering.
The one that was at the show with the
Right.
G, that was just a one-off that Terry Iguchi made for an internal presentation.
Okay.
But then we produced that figure as the unnamed one. And he
Yeah, but
appeared-
that guy don't count.
Well,
that guy was
if
terrible.
If you're going to caveat your request with that, then yes. But the answer is yes, we used him. But if you're saying that doesn't count, then how
No,
can I
but,
answer?
yeah, but you made the yeah, but how come you didn't go forth with just Gorbo himself?
Like you, just to make him look like the toy. I mean, the horseman. Basically, we had the horseman design the toy, and they designed the toy, and then we put the character who appeared in the comic was based on their toy design.
Oh,
So
alright.
why they lost the G, I don't know, I guess just
Yeah.
to make it look a little darker, a little meaner.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, maybe Mattel will make a Gorpo with the G one day. Number one on everyone's list, right? No?
Just curious, I know you guys said
Sorry,
that
I'm
you were working on this on your off time. Was there any oversight from Mattel where they're like, you know what, Scott, can't do this, it's not gonna work? No, it's a conflict with the line, or we're just not comfortable with this?
Like what, how so? What do you mean?
Anything in the Minicomics, I don't know, from your
You know,
creative
anything
process.
in the Minicomics?
Yeah.
Honestly, there was very little oversight. Just because, I mean, people, I did, like, I remember I would send the scripts to, like, Rob David, who was on this panel, the panel before me, just to, you know, take a look at them, to make sure the franchise group was seeing them. But, you know, people were pretty much, they kind of let Classic sort of just run itself. There was very little, like, I don't think I ever got comments about change this or do this. Honestly, because we were really flying under the radar, and it was such a tiny line, and again, because I was willing to do it, essentially for free, no one was objecting. Because also the moment I think they thought they started objecting and poking, I would have been like, well, then I'm not doing this anymore. So we were kind of left alone, which, you know, Baruch Hashem, is kind of how it happened.
Cool. Nice. So, toward the end of the last comic, you kind of set up future stories. Did you guys have plans to continue on the mini-comics? And if so, what stories did you have in mind to tell?
If we were going to do an issue 9, there were a couple ideas that never made it past like just like notes on paper, but one idea was to do kind of like a Scrollos answers reader mail thing where it was like 4 mini stories, and it was like it's kind of like what we did with that how Tila got the staff of Koth. I mean, it wasn't going to be like tongue in cheek as much like that, but we sort of wanted to do those. The whole idea with the mini comics was to sort of fill in those gaps. So I thought about maybe the next issue could have been like a 4 little short, like 4-page stories, just telling like little things like, oh, that's what happened in Tundaria. Oh, that's how Skeletor took over and was king. Oh, that's how Hordak came back and overthrew him. Like, think we kind of, or how She-Ra, they all came over. We thought about maybe doing something in the Whispering Woods where they're like, okay, you know, we got to go to Eternia, and you know, Hordak is back. So even though he's left Etheria, maybe it's our responsibility to see this through, and let's create a portal and go to Eternia and defeat him and team up, and that's how, you know, that first or second Ultimate Battleground happened.
Yep.
So that was as much as we sort of I played around with what would happen in a future issue. Was doing something like that.
Thank you very much.
And I'm answering all the questions you got. I'm sorry, you guys can jump in.
Is there a particular issue that's your favorite that you guys worked on, and is there one that you're like, that one wasn't as great as we wanted it to be?
You want to start? I didn't know all talking.
That's easy for me. I like issue 7 because I got to color it. And then, but no, it was fun. There were some pretty big moments there. We got the death of King Hiss in there. We got the Living a Fighting Spector.
Mega Beast.
We got Mega Beast in there. We got there was some fun stuff.
Well, mine is issue 7 too. Mostly because not only all the stuff we worked on, also by the colors of Nate. I love the work of Nate, and I think that is my favorite issue.
Yeah, and 7 definitely stands out. I mean, it was the one we all got to basically put our best in. And I think 4 is also a big favorite of mine, the origin of Skeletor, because that was a sort of a story that was set up in the bios from day one, but never quite got to it. It sort of depended on doing an outcast Keldor and a royal warrior Keldor, like multiple variants of Skeletor, in order to have told that story. Again, to do it all through a mini comic was very rewarding. It was also the first one I wrote by myself. The first one I wrote the story, but I passed it off to Tim to write the script. But I actually wrote that one as a script, and it was much more rewarding because Tim was fantastic to work with. It was amazing. But I realized it just created an extra layer because I kept having to give him notes and saying, oh, change this, we have to do this, we have to make this change. And it just became logistically easier. That's why 4 just stands out with me. But they were all great until 8 came along.
Hi, thanks for all your great work. So it was really great seeing some of the concepts today, and I was curious, what other animal character would you like to fill in the line with if you had that opportunity? Like, what would you think would make an interesting character visually, or even in that sense, like the Sawtooth having that rotor blade would have fit in the vintage feel?
Like animal meaning like a sharp character or like a battle cat?
Well, in the sense where, like, say you want to do a different animal completely, like a squid. There's no squid character. What other animal might you want to do, or you think would provide an interesting vintage feel to it?
I don't know. I thought a bear was already Grislow, isn't it?
A bear?
Some kind of bear.
Yeah.
But
Beastman's more of a similar.
yeah.
Red
Beast.
Yeah, Red Beast.
If you ask me, Red Beast all the way for me.
I have as I mentioned before, I love prehistoric beasts. I've always, in the back of my mind, thought that Masters of the Universe, if it really happened on Earth, this is as big a dork as I am. If Masters happened on Earth, maybe it would happen in that great mammal age, right? In the Eocene and the Pliocene era, because there are some rhinoceros type or elephant type creatures that are just huge, or giant sloths even.
Megafauna.
Yeah, that could just, I think there's so many interesting shapes of their horns, and I think there could be some things that could be played off of a lot of those types of beasts that would be fun.
Cool, thank you.
All right, this will be the last question here.
I always seem to be the last question.
The last one every time.
Is your destiny?
So I'm a huge fan of Galactic Protector She-Ra. That was a phenomenal figure. Yeah, come on. So I mean, was that I guess it's kind of a chicken or egg question. Was it the artwork in the comic came first, or was the figure design first? And okay, now we can kind of put this in here.
It was very blended.
I can tell you from my perspective.
Yeah, go ahead. You may remember.
I was out at the Horseman Studios for Toy Fair of, I can't remember which year it was. It could have been 12 or 13. But I remember Eric. We were in the studios, and Eric had said, "Hey, Scott said that we need to design." It was at the same time we designed Unnamed One, and Eric looked at me and was like, "Hey, you want to help us out and design a new adventure She-Ra? What would that look like to you?" And so yeah, we kibitzed in the studio. We threw out some sketches together, and then I delivered that V sheet over to Mattel, and it was shortly after that Axel took over.
Yeah, I remember the designs, the final design of Unnamed One and a She-Ra was already made at the moment I started to work on the issue 5. Yeah.
Because I can tell you, she was planned as a figure before we drew her in the mini comic, but it was with the knowledge that the mini comic was going to come out first. People would see it, and I was like, please let fans like this, please let fans like this. Because we knew the figure was coming like 10 months later. But it was sort of one of those things where like, okay, we'll put it out in the mini comic, hypothetically the fans will love it, they'll get really excited, and then we'll come out with a figure and they'll all be like, yeah, Eddie did a figure of it, even though the figure was going to happen anyway. So if the fans all saw it and hated the design, we were totally screwed.
I think they liked it.
Yeah.
But luckily they liked it. I actually, I had a lot of fear about that. Like, I love the design. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if like this just gets so much pushback and they hate it because we've already got a figure plan. And
Yeah, I remember I was the one that was pushing the silver, more of the silver motif, the silver and white, because of the flip of, you know, He-Man in his old suit had a lot of gray tones and such. He still had gold on him, but then when you flipped him into New Adventures, he was very gold. And She-Ra standard was gold and white, so I wanted to flip that for New Adventures and have them kind of, as the twins, play off each other.
Yeah, no, I dug that aesthetic choice. That was really cool.
I remember the only description I gave was with the sword. I said, as New Adventures He-Man's sword is to the power sword, She-Ra's New Adventure sword is to the sword of protection. You should basically do like a SAT kind of thing. But other than that, I had no visual. I was like, New Adventure She-Ra, she needs to happen. She should be part of that era. Like, make it happen. And it did. So.
Thanks.
All right, well, I think that's going to wrap things up for the day. So I want to thank you guys very much for coming.
Well, I will say one closing remark. I can't give details, but if you like what Axel draws and what I write, there's more coming.
Woo! Very cool. Thank you guys very much, and thank you all for coming out. Enjoy the rest of your day at PowerCon.
Thank you all for coming.